At the start of the restricted meeting of the RPCA, the Food Crisis Prevention Network in Paris, the participants called for respect on the commitment made in Oslo for northern Nigeria. In February, 14 countries committed to urgently release $672 million over 3 years, including $457 million in 2017, while the United Nations estimates needs $1.5 billion this year. Indeed, nearly half of the 10,400,000 people in need of food and nutrition assistance in 2017 live in northeastern Nigeria. According to recent analysis, some 55,000 people are threatened by starvation in the most affected and least accessible areas of the state of Borno.
Je pense qu'en l'occurrence, et malheureusement, le principal problème.
I think that in this case, and unfortunately the main problem around Lake Chad is less about money issue than access to populations. It is true that in Oslo we have had commitments that some have deemed insufficient, but I think the main message of Oslo meeting that was passed over in silence is that there are enormous quantities of people, considerable spaces in this area that are not accessible to humanitarian workers. That means even if we have more money, we will not be able to save these people. There is money, and so the challenge today is how to concretely organize and open humanitarian corridors to reach people who risk dying of starvation because of hunger.
Regional analysis indicates that 9,600,000 people are in critical food and nutritional status, compared to 10,400,000 people estimated in November 2016. It is a relative improvement, notably thanks to humanitarian and food aid actions. However, if this assistance is not pursued and strengthened, over 13 million people may experience a critical food and nutritional situation by the time of the lean season in June, August in Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Mali, Mauritania, Niger and Senegal.
Nous avons des données statistiques fiables.
We gave reliable statistic data. Without these reliable statistics, it is impossible to make macroeconomic projections. Today, the region is able to know its strengths and weaknesses in terms of food safety management. We owe it to the project cycle, which is the technical branch of the RPCA, but also thanks to our technical and financial partners who accompany us in the implementation of all agricultural policy and the food security policy.
De toute la politique agricole et la politique de sécurité alimentaire.
The restricted meeting of the RPCA is traditionally the place to validate the agricultural production of the Sahel and West Africa. Again, agricultural production recorded a significant increase. In 2016 to 2017, cereal production reached about 66 million tons and tuber production 168 million tons, an increase of almost 15% compared to the average of the last 5 years.
Dans notre espace, l'irrigation n'a pas encore.
In our space, irrigation is not yet fully utilized, so we have less than 3% of our irrigable land that is irrigated, which means we depend a lot on rainfall. Starting from there, if the rainfall is good all of a sudden, we have a good yield, good production. We also have small disturbances. We have produced 67 million tons, which is 10 to 17% compared to last season or to the average of the last 5 years. But we have had disruptions due to the insecurity in the region. This suggests that the number of vulnerable people may increase if adequate measures are not taken.
Dans notre région, c'est quand même le premier employeur. Le secteur agricole, mais en même temps,
in our region, the agricultural sector is the largest employer. At the same time, it is a sector in which we have a challenge that requires more control to strengthen the resilience and food security issues in West Africa. That is why, when you take the political direction of the ECOWAS, agriculture is one of the first priority sectors in the region. Since 2005, we have devoted a lot of resources and energy to bringing a regional policy to meet current challenges, but also to accompany the member states in realizing what we have called zero hunger target by 2020. We are therefore in this logic, and we have worked hard not only in putting in place the mechanisms but also the frameworks that allow us to install this policy where we want to be appropriated by the member states.
Despite the relatively high food availability, the region faces numerous food and nutritional stresses due to persistent civil insecurity in the Lake Chad Basin and northern Mali, as well as environmental factors such as the early burnout of forage resources and water points. These food and nutritional stresses are critical in some localities in Burkina Faso, northern Mali, Niger, northeastern Nigeria, Senegal and Chad.
En urgence, chacun de nos pays, dans le cadre des mécanismes mis en place.
As a matter of urgency, each of our countries under the mechanism put in place have tried to find its own answer. In Chad, we have what we call the Action Committee for Food Security, which I have the honor to chair, which brings together all the ministerial departments concerned with the development partners that we have on site. We have assessed the overall cost of the response to this crisis, which are believed to be in the order of 40 billion CFA francs at the level of Chad. We have mobilized about $8 billion, but there is still a gap of about 30 billion that we will have to find. We have not yet completed everything we need.
We have been trying to prevent crisis in the last 40 years or a little more, and we may have to move at a higher speed. In other words, it is not only crisis that must be prevented or managed, but attempts must also be made to prevent and manage the very risk assessment of crisis. In this regard, I believe there is a qualitative leap and a change in behavior and mentality that is necessary. This food and nutritional stress is occurring in a context in which the decline in mineral resources prices and the depreciation of certain local currencies, coupled with increasing security needs of states, affect the ability of governments to cope with the emergency and develop sustainable structural responses. This is compounded by rising prices for agricultural products.
In spite of good production, there is a slight increase in prices compared to the benchmarks we have, mainly due to disruptions in the major currencies we have had, such as in Nigeria with the reduced cost of the naira, which has greatly impacted the prices of cereals in the region, and also the disruptions in Sierra Leone and Liberia. Altogether, we saw a slight rise in prices. On the other hand, in the other countries of the Sahel, prices remain stable with a downward trend. That's what I can say about the prices.
The RPCA thus encourages states and their intergovernmental organizations to invest more and sovereignly in structuring programs for the transformation and development of agri-food value chains, especially as civil society and producers have denounced low investment in this sector.
Avec les effets du changement climatique aujourd'hui,
with the effects of climate change today, we need good quality seeds, and we cannot have these seeds if we do not equip our research institutes with enough capacity to respond to this demand.
En dehors des semences, nous avons besoin d'autres outils nous permettant d'augmenter la production, notamment les intrants.
Besides seeds, we will need other tools to increase production, including inputs, fertilizers. During production, we will also need support to access food. And once production is there, we also need to transform it, because we are not always going to continue producing and sending our raw production outside to make the transformation and bring it back, which is 10 times more expensive than the raw product.
Nous voulons toujours promouvoir l'agriculture familiale.
We always want to promote family farming, and to do so, it will require a good supervision of its operators. And indeed, since the investment is not consistent, we are always confronted with its problems. And then it is in a global way that productivity has increased. But if we go within each family, we will feel that there is still this deficit. At the level of the granaries, they are always confronted with the issue, and with the climate change, this vulnerability is even more felt. So we need to strengthen. We will always have to invest more. We will need stocks and cereal reserves.
Avoir des stocks de réserve céréaliers.
The African enthusiasm to eradicate the root causes of food crisis come at a time when security challenges are increasingly forcing states and cooperation agencies to relegate resilience to the back burner. In view of this situation, the RPCA urges all stakeholders to intensify political dialogue, advocacy, and lobbying for maintaining resilience at the top of development agendas. The members of the Food Crisis Prevention Network will meet in December in Cotonou for the 33rd annual meeting. They will look at innovative and territorial approaches to food and nutrition security.